What's up, it's the Coaster Quiz, and in my latest review, I'll be talking about a pretty notable roller coaster. This is Superman the Ride, previously known as Superman Ride of Steel and then Bizarro, at Six Flags New England in Agawam, Massachusetts. This Intamin mega coaster opened in 2000 and boasts some pretty impressive stats, along with being voted the #1 steel coaster in the world by the Golden Ticket Awards many years in a row. So first I'm going to talk about the stats, and they're pretty darn impressive. I mean, this is a sizable hypercoaster, and the drop is actually a good amount bigger than the lift hill height, and that's because of a tunnel used at the beginning of the ride, which is really awesome, and drops at 72 degrees, so it's not crazy steep like some of these RMCs, but still a really great drop. But the stat that I find most impressive is the length. 5,400 feet of track. And I know lots of hypercoasters are pretty long, but this is one of the longest coasters I've ridden, and in terms of track length, and it is really impressive. It also boasts a pretty long ride duration time from drop to break, and I just love how much it packs in. I think that's really impressive, how the entire ride goes so fast. Yep, it was a really long coaster. So yeah, the stats are impressive, but a lot of hypercoasters have them. What enthusiasts really love about Superman the Ride, and what I think it completely lives up to, maybe even exceeds, is the layout. It is brilliant how it combines the traditional hyper out and back with the spaghetti bowl twister section at the end. So to walk you through it, basically you go up the lift hill, and you're met by this really awesome drop that I talked about before through that Superman tunnel underground. And then you go up into a great big floater ejector hill. Then you're met with this really intense overbank turn that I was not expecting, and it has some really powerful positive G-force that I thought was just awesome. No parts of the ride made me gray out or anything, but the intensity was definitely there. You then are met by this really cool S-curve section through a couple of these cardboard cutouts of like Metropolis buildings, and that's something I want to talk about, is that yeah, besides the layout being amazing, just the extra touches of like theming and scenery go such a long way with this, because most massive coasters like this don't have much theming, but Superman the Ride, there's just so much of these extra touches that go such a long way. Like, for example, just walking into the area, this little part of the DC superheroes section in Six Flags New England almost has a universal like Marvel Island vibe to it, and just all these big buildings and stuff, and the signs. It really makes you feel like you're in like the actual comic books and stuff, like Metropolis, and they're playing Superman music and all this exciting music all around. You go through this really nicely landscaped queue, and then the station is just buzzing with energy, and it is just awesome. Plus, then you go up the lift hill, they're playing on these speakers the Superman theme. So that's just super exciting. I mean, I wish like some of these things were done at like the Superman Ride of Steel at my home park, Six Flags America, which is a great ride, but this kind of improves on it in every way. And that definitely includes the theming and scenery, because during the lift hill, I highly suggest the left side to sit on, because it is right up against the Connecticut River for the first part of the ride. And boy, is that an amazing view. You can look behind you to see Springfield, Massachusetts, which is a pretty sizable city, and it's really cool. And then after that drop, I mean, that Superman tunnel again is awesome, and it has this nice like cool feel to it because you're like underground. And then going back to the layout with those side-to-side turns to the cardboard cutouts, again, that adds so much. Just those being there, they're pretty cheap, but it really makes you feel like you're flying through Metropolis on this coaster, and the immersion is just insane. After passing through two very potent ejector hills, you go through these Superman symbols, which are just super awesome, go into an airtime hill, and then you enter the twister section with these helices and twisted airtime hills, another tunnel that has misting and like passes over like a Metropolis news van. Then you come up out of the helix into a few like small ejector hills, and finally into a turnaround to the final break round. And right on that turn, you actually pass a billboard that says Superman defeats Bizarro, which is a great callback to this ride used to be called Bizarro, but then switching back to the Superman theme in 2016, which I think is so cool how they pull in like the ride's history with the theming elements. Just all those nice touches go such a long way. And the layout throughout is just amazing, how it incorporates excellent positive G-forces with those really intense helices and that overbank turn with amazing ejector. All these hills give so much in different types of ejector, very sustained, except for one of the hills at the very end. I think it was the second to last hill. It was heavily trimmed. The only part of the ride that's trimmed. It was a bit unfortunate because it weakened the airtime on that hill, but anyway, this coaster is from start to finish just non-stop intensity and just powerful airtime, the forces. There's such a fun ride. It's a real rush. The pacing is insane. I mean, this coaster dropped the brakes a minute and 10 seconds. That's long, but it does not lose steam whatsoever. I think that is super, super impressive. I mean, this is an incredibly intense coaster, but it's still very re-rideable because it is a very smooth one also, which is awesome. And that does bring me, though, to the fact that it can be a bit different where you're sitting on the train. I got 3 rides on it. The first was in the second row. I really loved it, but want to experience it again in the back row this time. And I was kind of surprised that besides the first drop, which is one of my very favorite first drops on a coaster when you're in the back row, it's absolutely insane, the rest of the ride isn't as good. There's a bit more noticeable of a rattle, not terrible or anything, and also I found the airtime to be not as powerful for some reason. But then I went for my third time in the front row, and oh my gosh, that's what really pushed this coaster to the stratosphere, and like my list and just like overall how much I loved it, because, well, the airtime was so powerful. You're getting the wind and just everything on your face as you pass through the theming and scenery. It really feels like there's some great near misses, plus the ride is just butter smooth in the front, so that's really, really awesome. And this is a really long train, actually, so you'll get very different experiences, like I said. And the long trains, plus Six Flags New England's fast operations, and them usually running 2 trains, make it have a pretty solid capacity despite only 2 across seating. It's also pretty reliable as well. Yes, it's an Intamin, so it will close, of course, with high winds or rain or whatever, but it's not like one of those launch coasters that's always down, which is very good. And of course, to address the elephant in the room in terms of the big criticism, yes, these restraints do suck. And it's really sad it doesn't have the T-bars like the Superman at my home park, because again, those are great and allow for so much ejector and just an open feeling on Superman Rise of Steel at Six Flags America. And I just can't imagine how amazing this ride would feel with the T-bars. So whoever got to ride it before they replaced them with the Bizarro after the big accident on this coaster, wow, they are very lucky, because yeah, these restraints are very painful, and I don't think they restrict the airtime so much, maybe a bit, but it's just that they hurt the thighs a lot. This isn't Skyrush or anything, it's not as painful, but still, it's a very unfortunate, because besides like that one hill that's just not that powerful, this is really the only complaint I have about the coaster, and the only thing that makes it not super comfortable is that just those restraints really push down and feel so heavy on your thighs. But I mean, other than that, this coaster is pretty much perfect, so I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. No coaster is truly perfect, but this is one of the best I've ever ridden. And for any coaster enthusiast, it's a must-do to get out to Six Flags New England and Agawam, especially because they have Wicked Cyclone at the same park. Insane 1-2 punch, but just this coaster alone makes the trip worth it. And it's such an icon of the park for the past 20 years. As you pass over that bridge, you see it lingering in the back of the park, and you have to go down like the stairs to that separate section with the DC Superheroes theme, and it just kind of feels separated, like its own creation. It just is such an immersive ride, but it can be seen from like anywhere in the park, so it just feels like such just a bold coaster, and is one of the best coaster experiences I've ever had. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Stay tuned for much more coaster videos, including many more reviews coming soon to the Coaster Craze, including the second part of my B&M video essay dropping this weekend. Like and subscribe for more awesome coaster videos, and I'll see you guys later from the Coaster Craze. Goodbye.